coming up on Mic'd Up.
We'll often hear from people to follow your passion, and that can work really well on the board. It looks great, but in reality, that can be really tough for a lot of people who have to provide for themselves, their families, et cetera, and maybe their passion doesn't yet provide for them financially. So I would say to combine that, so still follow your passion, but also to find the passion in what it is that you're doing today.
Welcome to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DeChocho, and on my show, I interview entrepreneurs, award-winning authors, entertainers, business leaders, athletes, and other talented individuals who I personally invited to join the show to inspire you to be brave and bold in pursuit of your dreams. If you dig this show and are looking for more inspiring content from incredible people, click the subscribe button and you'll be notified of each episode release. Subscribing is free and it means the world to me that you've chosen my channel to tune into. You can give a gift of thanks and appreciation for providing this content to you. Simply visit patreon.com/mikedup, MIKEDUP. Any amount is greatly appreciated and totally unexpected. I welcome you to connect with me on my other social channels as well. All links are clickable in the description to make it even easier to connect. Thank you again for tuning into Mic'd Up. Enjoy the show. Our guest today is a financial advisor and coach based in the financial district of New York City with a practice that spans over 100 clients across 25 states. He's a professional voice actor for trailers, promos, narrations, podcasts, and also now audiobooks. He has a strong passion for helping children all around the world, in particular the Mustard Seed Communities, a nonprofit organization dedicated to caring for the most vulnerable populations in society. Welcome to the show, Andrew Romano.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you here, man. There's so much to talk about in your story. I really had to peel it back for the intro just to make sure that we can get you on the show and learn a little bit more about all the interesting things you're doing. So thank you again for taking the time to be with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
Guys, you can tune in with Andrew on social media. He's most active on LinkedIn, so I'm going to have that in the show notes. It's all clickable, making it super easy for you guys to connect. And one of the reasons I have Andrew here on the show today, I'm excited to have him because we're going to showcase the fact that he has many passions and they're not, pigeonholed into one key area, right? So he's not stuck being in one spot. And I think that's important because a lot of times when I meet a professional, they're like, oh, I only want to tell you about this that I do or that. And with Andrew, there's so many different things he's doing and he does them all because it's in his heart. And that's what the show is all about, is finding what's in your heart and taking it and run with it. So a lot of times people are afraid to do that, to get outside their comfort zone. And in Andrew's case, he's got, financial planning. And then in addition to that, he's also a professional voice actor, which is really cool, a travel enthusiast. So Andrew, take it away from there. Share your story with us. How does everything all tie together?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people, when they hear all the different creative pursuits that I have along with the business pursuits, it's a common question that comes up. And for me, I joke, career ADHD. I've learned to just lean into the things that give me a lot of energy. And, with the financial advisory practice, I've always been more drawn to helping people in some way. And this is why I'm drawn to the volunteer work that you mentioned in the intro. And I was never really drawn to just doing a kind of finance work that I would just be staring at a screen of spreadsheets all day. That was on that side. And I felt more drawn to just helping individuals and families with their specific situations. That felt more like serving people. And then on the creative side, the voiceover work, it's interesting. I started doing that when I was mimicking Jack Bauer on 24 and learned that I had that deeper tenor to my voice. It was just a fun party trick for a while. But with my advisory practice, it helped. Before we were in this Zoom world, I could host calls with people and hold their attention over a 60-minute conversation around something as dry for some people as their money, and especially when they aren't seeing any visuals. And I was able to use my voice and use the intonation to draw them into the conversation more effectively. And then with the children's writing, so I have one book published there and working on a few others, but that I'm always trying to take very adult topics and translate that to a 5-year-old. And when you're talking money, people really enjoy, especially the smarter my clients get, they like the simpler I can boil everything down to with them. So as I'm making presentations to clients, I'm very mindful of how do I make this as simple as possible so that they can actually grasp it and empower themselves to better implement that and act on that in their lives.
So much to talk about there and unpack. So the number one thing I heard there is simplify your message, right? That goes for anything in business and marketing. Your audience, in your case, it's professionals that want your assistance, and whether it's financial or however they're working with you, and they want to be able to take it and run with it. Like nobody wants these long homework assignments to do or things they don't want to bust out the calculator. They want like, all right, Andrew, here's the 1, 2, 3 things that we can work on, right? And I did hear, I forget who said this originally. It might have been Einstein, someone in that category, a great thought leader of the last couple hundred years. And it was like the idea of simplifying things for like the third grade level. John Maxwell talks about it all the time, keeping the cookies on the first shelf so everybody can get it. A 10-year-old kid should be able to get what you're talking about and feel it. And so should a 35-year-old man, woman, 80-year-old man or woman, it doesn't matter. So I think that's a really important part of your message. And that for any salesperson listening right now, doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you think that maybe you're overcomplicating it, and that's hindering you actually from getting sales, take what Andrew just said, simplify it, make it ready for that third or fifth grade level. And the other thing he said is have fun. Look, you could be in financial, but guys, have fun with it. That's your personality. I always remember whether I was working at Sleep Number or Liberty Mutual, the thing that people loved working with me is the way I made them feel, not the things I said, right? They remember how you made them feel. And when they leave, they're walking with information from you, Andrew, but they're also leaving with the way you made them feel. And if you have a good personality, that's going to go a long way. So I really appreciate you hitting that. Something I learned about with you, I forget if you maybe told me this in a side conversation when we first met or if I read it somewhere, but you have this really cool mission talking about some of your personal passions. And we talk about travel, but you're looking to hit a new country every December so you can experience and take in the Christmas season in different places. I think that's super cool. We're a couple months removed from Christmas, but it's still very much alive, and Christmas never goes away, right? It's a 12-month thing now, but have you checked like any of these locations off on your bucket list? And like, what are some of the top spots that you haven't hit yet that you want to make sure you do?
No, this is a new one for me. And it came from watching the Rick Steves. He's the travel guy on PBS. And he has a European Christmas special that came out 15, 20 years ago. And it's one of those things that I watch every Christmas time because it shows you how do these different countries celebrate the coming of the Christmas season. And so I was watching it this past Christmas and said, yeah, I've got to add that to my annual vacationing. So early December, go and visit some of these different countries because that season I just enjoy a lot. There's a lot of comfort and relaxation to that season. But also me as a religious guy, I'd love to go see some of these churches and other places and see how they celebrate it, not just from the how do they decorate the streets and all the cool, fuzzy, warm bars, but also some of the more cathedrals and some of those beautiful religious sites.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because this planet at times seems so large, but it really isn't. You know, I mean, the way that we could travel now through the air and be anywhere within a few hours in our own country and, you know, even get to the way other corners of the world, right, within really days, what's holding people back right now, financial and everything else, of course, in the opportunity and the time. But those are things that you can schedule. If you're saying once a year, you want to kind of sneak away and go enjoy a different culture and experience it. And that's something that I love to see you maybe put that into a book or like a blog or something, or do some vlogs on YouTube. People want to tune in. I know I would tune into that to see, even though we're not there with you physically, we can kind of tune in and get the different cultures. But yeah, this world is so incredible in so many different ways. And I feel like too many people are born, grow up, and pass away within like 30 miles from the place that they were born. And it's kind of sad. That's your story. That's your story. But I do think that it's not their fault. It's the culture that they grew up in. I'm from Buffalo, New York. A lot of people just try to escape to go somewhere warm, but they don't think about or talk about, yeah, why don't you go see the whole world? Go to a different European culture. Go live there in the college years. Go learn and expand. So I think that's a really, really cool part of your story. And I encourage anyone listening to think about what their little getaway is that they want to document and learn from different cultures. What we're going to do, we're going to hear so much more about your story. We're going to talk more about mustard seed communities and learn about that. We will take a quick 2-minute timeout. We're going to hear from our sponsors, Navigator Bookkeeping, and of course, our company, Social Chameleon, the producers of this podcast. We're going to hear from both of those sponsors. We'll be back in 2 quick minutes with Andrew. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Awesome, Andrew. Welcome back. Thank you again for being here. Guys, if you want to connect with Andrew, you can do so on LinkedIn. That's where he's most active. That's clickable in the show notes. We're going to dive right back in because we have a limited time with Andrew today. I want you to open up a little bit about your passion. You mentioned you love helping out children, your involvement with the mustard seed communities. Those are orphanages in Jamaica, the Dominican Republic. I'll let you color it in, but take it away. How did you get involved with that, and what kind of stuff are you doing?
Yeah, so Mustard Seed was founded a little over 40 years ago in Jamaica, and they now run orphanages in Jamaica, Nicaragua, DR, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. And their mission is to go to these marginalized populations within these marginalized countries, with the core being that these children have been abandoned once, and we're never going to let them be abandoned again. And when a friend of mine offered many years ago for us to do a mission trip there with a group of young people in Hoboken, New Jersey, I jumped at the opportunity because we had done a lot of that kind of stuff in college. And man, I'll tell you, the experience is absolutely phenomenal. We spend about a week in Jamaica each year, and we spend about half our time doing construction projects. So think Habitat for Humanity type stuff. And then we spend half our time with the children. And they're very clear about that distinction. They'll call you off of the project that you're on to make sure you're spending time with the kids, to read a book, to feed a child, to just sit with a child and talk with them about school, or if they can't speak or are permanently immobile in a wheelchair, just sitting holding a hand. And for me, it's that perfect combination of sort of the physical labor. So you, especially us New Yorkers, we want to feel like we're doing something, but some of the best experiences I've had through that organization are just sitting with a child for 15 minutes and feeding them when they can't feed themselves. And it's such an easy mission to get behind.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love to hear that. To me, again, financially, they're hurting, so we can always just give, and that's a great thing. Anyone who gives and supports financially, that's incredible. But really what kids need, whether it's our own children in our households or kids all across the globe, it's attention. It's our time. It's the one-to-one. And if we don't have a ton of money, what we can do to give? We can just sit with someone. Like you said, hold a hand. That can make that person's day, their week, their month, that they connected with another human being who's usually kind of reserved, right? Awesome reminder to just give your time, give your energy, and it goes so far. And then obviously if you can give financially, that's a kind of the bonus.
Yeah, there's three buckets we all have: time, talent, and treasure. And the way I like to reframe it for people is to give from each bucket as you can. So don't feel down if you don't yet have that treasure bucket yet filled up and can't write the big check or Venmo a lot of money around. So give of your time. If you're young and able, sometimes you have the talent of not yet having a family or other obligations. So give of that time, give of that energy. And then as you get older, maybe you have a family and you have a little less time on your hands, but maybe you could sit on a board. And then as you have more money, great, give from that bucket. But just give as you can and as you're able to. And all of those currencies are very welcome in many organizations around the world.
Yeah. And that's not where it ends for you. You obviously have a connection to educating and entertaining children. You have a cool children's story that I plan on getting for my daughter, who's now 7. And it's called, you co-authored this too, so I want to give you some love to the co-author, but it's called The Most Well-Traveled Squirrel in the Whole Wide World, which is kind of funny. We were just talking about traveling the world. Tell us about the story, how that came about, and then give some love to the co-author.
Yeah, so my co-author is Blaze Kelly Coyle. She had the idea for the book many years ago at the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting, and she had observed just out loud to her friends at the time, "Oh, I wonder if any animals get stuck up in that tree." And her friends laughed and said that would make a great children's book. And then she had known that I'd done some children's writing before and asked if I wanted to collaborate on that. So the book is about our hero, Tommy, who gets to New York City by way of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. So he falls asleep in the tree and wakes up at the tree lighting. And now he is sort of a fish out of water. He's definitely a squirrel out of his tree. And the mission of the series will be to teach kids that there's all these wonderful foods, languages, religions, and cultures to get out there and explore it all. And, when we were doing our initial reading of this, we read to over a few thousand kids in many different schools. And we often would seek out schools that were in more financially depressed areas because they would not often get a lot of live authors come in. And some of our most rewarding moments were we would often ask the kids, "Oh, should Tommy come here?" And of course, the kids all scream yes. And then we ask them, "What's cool around here to explore?" And sometimes these children, their universe is small enough where it's that local playground. For some, even the local Walmart they've mentioned. And for us, it's to sort of plant that little seed of discovery, of imagination in these young minds that maybe some of these kids now, it's been, we've had the book out for a little over 11 years now, that maybe some of these kids are starting to explore the world around them. And maybe we played some small part in nudging that along. Because I find when we're kids, we're very curious. And we get to a sense of, what are you doing? Why do you eat like that? And then as we get to adults, we tend to, why are you eating that? Why do you talk like that? And I try to remain in that state of wonder and exploration. And it's through the children's writing, but also being around kids all the time with that to then keep that youthful energy about the world.
Yeah, I love it, man. Wonder, exploration, curiosity, all beautiful things that eventually we start to lose, and we don't need to lose that. I try to stay as curious today as I was when I was a kid playing in the sandbox and trying to figure things out. And that's awesome, man. That's really, really cool. And I love that you went into different areas where maybe children never seen, someone who's, "Oh, you wrote a book." Maybe they're thinking, "I never thought about that." There's some authors that may have come out of that, right? Or someone who's more interested in reading or books, sharing their story. Like a lot of times thinking about children, we kind of assume what they're thinking. "Oh, this person's grown up here, so this is what their life's like." You never know. We all think every kid wants to go to Disney World, and I'm sure they do if we put it on a platter for them. But sometimes it's the playground down the street. That is their whole life. Like they love that. They want to get out of school and go there. But you never know until you actually ask them, "Hey, if you can do anything you want after school, where are you going?" Right? Let their imagination take over from there. Really cool story. Is that still available for purchase, the book?
Yeah, it's out there. Our website is welltraveledsquirrel.com. You can check that out. And yeah, we're working on books number 2 and 3 right now. So hopefully those will be coming out in the not too distant future.
I'm going to ask you to do something on the spot. I didn't prep for this before we started to record, but can you give me like a 1-line, 2-line promo for the book in your Jack Bauer voice real quick for the squirrel?
You know, he was a squirrel on a mission. The world in distress. Together, they would explore the universe around them and teach kids that they can do it too.
There it is, man. Oh, that's awesome. You are hired for the new announcements for Mic'd Up.
Oh, thank you.
You're going to be doing the intro for this show before you know it. So maybe even this one.
Yeah. There you go.
That was spot on, man. It's so good. So let's talk about this. I want to rock out the next 15 minutes. I have you here captive. Words of wisdom. I always like to hit on these before we part ways. There's people that are putting in 40 hours to their main profession, right? They're putting a roof over their head, food on the table, that kind of thing. But they have this heart tug. They know that there's like a side hustle, something they want to do. They're not sure how to dive into it. Maybe they need a nudge, just encouragement to say, it's okay. You can do something else. It's like your personal passion. You've done this yourself. So what would you tell someone who's in that space?
Yeah, there's a number of things that are coming to mind here. So we'll often hear from people to follow your passion, and that can work really well on the board. It looks great, but in reality, that can be really tough for a lot of people who have to provide for themselves, their families, et cetera, and maybe their passion doesn't yet provide for them financially. So I would say to combine that, so still follow your passion, but also to find the passion in what it is that you're doing today. You can find energy and passion in writing those emails or putting that next report together. And that alone, with the things you're already doing, will give you more energy so that when you put that down for the day, you have the energy then for the pursuits that might give you more passion and energy. I'm big on that. I've heard the term sort of be an energy monster, right? So seek out where in life are the things that are giving you more energy, from how you sleep to how you eat and the things you actually physically consume, to what you mentally consume, the types of books, the types of conversations you have, turn the news off or when to consume that. Find out where are the moments where you're peaking at your energy levels and the ones that you're at your lowest. And that can help guide you, one, in the right direction, because if something is giving you more energy, maybe that's a sign that you should be spending more time doing that. But it can also give you all the more time and the energy to pursue those passions, because it's the worst thing in the world to live your whole life with the pursuit that, okay, once I have enough money, maybe I can then retire from this thing I don't like doing so I can pursue the thing I like doing. And then that tale often ends in tragedy, where once that shows up, you often don't have the energy or sometimes the even physicality or mentality to then pursue the thing you were interested in all the time. The other thing that comes up a lot, and I'll often talk, especially with younger people, but it applies to adults, is, and I learned this early on in my working life. So for me, I learned to spend maybe the first 5 to 10 years of my working life not trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, but to figure out what I don't want to do with the rest of my life. Or for any young person listening going into college, spend those first few semesters not trying to figure out what you want to major in, but figure out what you don't want to major in. That will keep you curious. You'll be trying new and different things. You'll be okay with moving around within the company you're at or changing companies, so that maybe by the time you're 30, you're hitting your stride. But to stay that kind of curious, because that curiosity leads to probably the biggest skill set you can have as any kind of employable person, which is adaptability. We often hear that the best thing to be employable around is to be indispensable. But if you're indispensable, you are not promotable, because they need you there in that job because no one else can do it. So I always try to make myself very dispensable, so that, hey, you can do this without me, and I hope to do it in a way that you want me involved. And if not, that's okay. But I want to empower you to be able to do the things you're doing, not necessarily with me anymore. And that would be okay. But that also keeps me energized and focused on how do I keep improving so that people never want to continue doing their work without me, because that's now sort of the role I serve with on the financial side, is more of that coach to people. And I try to do it in an empowering way that at some point they will no longer need me. And I hope to do it in a way that they will always want me around and in their lives to keep helping them pursue what they're doing. But then that also keeps me not getting lackadaisical or resting on my laurels or anything like that, because I know I'm setting my own clients up that at some point they are going to be well armed to leave me. And so that gives me the energy to make sure that they stick around.
Man, that was some really good stuff there. I'm going to go back and re-listen to, but some of the things I gathered from you, energy is so important. It's what we take and what we give out, right? I'm always trying to give that energy too, but to connect back to it, you may be doing a job that you're not 100% connected with, so it's really hard to do that energy, but I love what you said is like, okay, well, connect back to it in a way that you feel, and I think the word that best really defines it is purpose. Like if you can find some kind of purpose in what you do, even if you don't love the maybe tasks that you're doing, connect it back to the why, what you're doing. That always tends to really drive that energy or emotion that's connected to it. And then the other great thing, like you said, is be yourself. You're a unique quote unquote employee of the company. Yeah, they can hire 10 other guys or gals to maybe do the tasks that you do. But you're saying, hey, when you have me on the team, this is what you're getting. You're getting the character behind it. It's the knowledge you bring. It's the experiences if it's a person right out of college. All those cool things you just said. Figure out what you don't want to do. And the magic, I think, too, Andrew, is like when you're doing that, whether it's college or at any point in your life, like we said, stay curious. It's a really cool, I'm actually going to maybe put that on a t-shirt. I like that idea. As our curiosity is strong, something could be implanted in our heart that we would have never came across if we were closed off from it. So in college, you could be maybe taking a course or doing an internship at a place you're like, this is the worst, right? But it could be something in that experience that plants a seed into your greatness. You would have never experienced it if you didn't stay curious. That is so good.
And that's why I've become so much more focused on systems rather than goals. We're brought up in a society where we are always setting goal setting. And, we were just finished with January where people are setting New Year's resolutions and what's your goals this year? And we talk through that filter of goals all the time. And what's interesting about goals is that they mostly land as sort of BS for people because we all want that beach body. How many people actually attain that? And if they do attain that, how many people maintain that? We all want to be wealthy. How many people are disciplined enough to get there? So instead, I would challenge everyone to not be as focused on goals. Those can be important. It's nice to have benchmarks and to signal, am I moving in the right direction? But be so much more focused on the system I'm creating. So if your goal is a new job, maybe you don't like where you're at, well, create a system so that every day or every week, you're doing a little something to brush up on some skills, to go out to LinkedIn and look at a couple people's profile. But if you have that system, now the system becomes sort of the goal. And if you want to read more on this, Scott Adams has many books on this particular topic. And it's someone I listen to regularly on these areas. And he's the guy who created Dilbert. So he's become very successful, but through his systems around fitness and around his professional life to have real systems around things rather than goals. And that's when I'm talking the financial work with people. That's why I've reframed myself more as a coach, because I'm helping them create a system around their money that will put them in the right direction of where they want to be going. So rather than have some specific goal around, I want to be a millionaire one day or own a home, those in and of themselves are not bad goals. But do you have a system in place that will realistically get you there? And if you don't, let's work on that first and then figure out the goals that then align as you're moving along in life.
The key word there is discipline, right? Systems and discipline. When you have those, what I'm gathering from what you said and what I've learned from other guests and books I've read, then your goals will change over time. Whether it's in business, you start to do better and better and better. So your goals will get larger, right? So then with the same systems and disciplines, you can now achieve a different level. Whatever you want to get in life, if you have systems and goals, that system works, then you can get the result. Then you can go and apply it over here and it works, right? It's like you can plug it in different areas and the systems and discipline are what's going to drive it, not the saying we want the goal and having it a pipe dream, but also like putting in the work, because you could work hard and fall short, But I know, like you just said, it's not that there's not going to be any resistance and it's going to be a smooth, straight line to your goal. We're not saying that. I don't want to speak for you. But setting up systems and disciplines are giving you the best chance at being successful, right?
Yeah, especially if inherent to the system you're creating, you allow for and expect and actually seek out failure. My little brother is becoming a very successful software engineer, and he talks about the concept of failing fast with a new engineering project for, say, a new startup that they're working with. And the key is, instead of to say, great, we know what you want to have, say, with your website or with the internal technology, and we'll come back to you in 30 or 60 days and hope it's the right thing. They'll get in there real quick, fail fast, figure out a lot of the kinks early on, have a lot of communication with the client, and they say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, knowing that those failures are just hearing no's. And then you're going to be much more aligned very quickly in the way that you want to be going. It's one of those things that we are brought up to not hear or say the word no. We're taught that that is a bad word, right? Our parents, don't you say no to me. And so we're brought up that no is actually a bad word. But when we become adults, the worst word we hear is maybe. We live in maybe land all the time, whether it's in our social lives, our dating lives, our professional lives. We always seek out the maybe then. And it's not even a conscious thought, but we so don't want to live our lives in a way that someone could potentially say no to me. So what do we get? Instead of getting a lot of yeses, we get a lot of maybes. And then those maybes require lots of extra follow-ups and extra emails and extra hand-wringing, and they didn't text me back, or they didn't email me back, or I haven't heard back from them. And it's this constant ughness.
Yeah, it's an escape and it's indecisiveness. I found that indecisiveness could be one of my greatest weaknesses. I think I want to do it, but there's a reason that I'm hesitant. When if I just did it, A, it would either get done, or B, if I failed, I would learn from it. And then I can apply the things that I learned to the next thing, right? Being indecisive rarely serves anybody. It doesn't serve you. If you're the one being indecisive in the decision in sales, it doesn't help you or the salesperson. They'd rather hear no and understand why it's not a good fit instead of you just dragging them through the 3-month follow-up. They don't want to send you the 3 emails every month, right? Let's figure it out. Why is it a great reason to move forward, or why is now not the time? We're either moving forward or we're not. Because if you're indecisive, you're really just going backwards. You're not going forward either.
It's one of those other lessons we got growing up of knowledge is power. And to a degree, that's true. But to me, that's not where it ends. To me, action is power. To have the knowledge in a way that then I can act on it, making that clear yes, no decision. Yes, I'm in. And if I'm in, I'm in. And if I'm out, I'm out. And it's okay. And I'll revisit later. But to me, most of us are not in that action-oriented state all the time. And so for me, that's the system I create in my life of being in constant clarifying action. And I find that that system then helps me achieve my goals a little bit more quickly and smoothly. And then not only just achieve those goals, but then stay in that state.
Yeah, this is so good. I want to see if I can sneak 2 more questions in before you run.
Sure.
Talked about you being a financial advisor. So if I can pick your brain there for a moment, what would you say are 3 signs of a healthy financial portfolio? Or like people are thinking, I want to make sure I have my financial portfolio at least in a good shape. What are 3 signs that it's actually a healthy portfolio?
So the 3 that come to mind are, 1, is there balance here? And if you're all in on a particular thing, be that a particular stock or a particular industry or a particular asset class, there's likely some inefficiency there. You want to take maybe more of the own the casino approach. So if you get a sense by looking at your balance sheet or your portfolio that you don't have balance, that might be worth looking more into. The other is whether to decide whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or whether you want help. And some people are do it themselves, and that's fine. But if you're working with a professional like me, it's to decide whether you want, and whether you're working with someone who's an advisor, more of that old school talk once a year type person, or a coach, someone that's going to help me consistently along the way.
You're more of the coach side of that, right? The hand in hand, working with you, behind the scenes, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And the last one you asked for 3 is, Are you being consumed or concerned with your money? The financial world will have you want to be consumed. There's 24/7 news networks about money now, and all this talk in the crypto and NFT space, it's everywhere. So if you find that you're being sort of yanked into that conversation and you're consumed by it, that could be a major red flag to me. To me, we should be waking up every day consumed with God and our family and our health, and concerned with our money because, hey, we all want that to be positive and growing. But if you're finding yourself being more consumed with that at the expense of your health, your family, your spiritual life, then that could also be a sign that something's off. And likewise, where talking with a professional could significantly help you get more back into that kind of balance as well.
Yeah, because that can lead you into that situation where you can have it all financially and still have that lack of love, lack of, all the things that you do want out of life, fulfillment, purpose, right? Those things are great with money, but they're non-existent without the right, call it systems in place, but also just leading with your heart too, right? And connecting the dots. I think that was really well said. This is one of those interviews. I know I'm going to go back. I always listen to my interviews usually a little bit after they come out. So that way it's fresh again. Like, oh yeah, Andrew. And then all these great things I just learned about, boom, and you hit on them. So this was a really, really well-rounded. I didn't quite know what we were going to get out of you today, Andrew. You over-delivered, over-promised, over-delivered. You're the man. This was so much fun. You're more than a financial guide that you talk to once a year. I'd love to stay in connection with you over time and continue to grow friendship here and see what you're doing every December with a new trip on the map. I'm looking forward to your vlog series that you're going to do around it because that would be really entertaining. Maybe even turn it into a book of different Christmas cultures. That would be cool. Any last words you want to say before you got a jet?
No, I appreciate you as well and everything you're doing with this podcast. And people nowadays, sometimes they use their platform for not so nice things. It's always wonderful to meet someone who's using their platform and their exposure to promote these kinds of messages. To me, one of the mantras maybe I'll leave with you this morning is that we become the conversations we have. So I so love having these kinds of conversations and listening to podcasts like yours where you're in this conversation all the time of this freedom, fulfillment, love, all that kind of stuff you're promoting across all these different people that you're interviewing. And I think that's what we should be consuming more of out there in the world. And so I'm grateful for you and all the content you create. Keep that up. And I just appreciate the time this morning to talk with me and hear my story as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed every minute of this. And I just got this great quote I wrote down. You become the conversations that you have. I would totally agree with that. 110%, over 120 episodes of people that I've just been blessed to meet like yourself. And everyone has their own journey, their own story, their own way getting to their quote unquote success, whatever that may look like. And just hanging with them, learning from them. I'm an improved person internally, all the different ways you want to lay it out, right? If you want to put it, different attributes, if you will. I certainly know that it's risen me up based on the collective group that I talk with. Again, that's the encouragement to the audience is who you hanging out with, where are you getting your news from, your resources from, who you chatting with on the phone, what conversations are you having? So this is one I'm grateful for sure. I always tell everybody, be great and be grateful. And that is for sure today. Thank you, Andrew. Really grateful for you being here today.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCiccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.
This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Mic'd Up is not affiliated with or endorsed by Park Avenue Securities, Guardian, or Strategies for Wealth, and opinions stated are their own. Andrew Romano is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC. Securities products and advisory services offered through Park Avenue Securities, member FINRA and SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, New York, New York. Park Avenue Securities is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Strategies for Wealth is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Park Avenue Securities or Guardian. California Insurance License Number 0M79232. 2022-132714. Expires January 2024.